All right, everybody, welcome. We're going to get started here. We're going to talk this evening a little bit about the natural selection project. A couple of people have had some problems and some questions with regards to it. I just wanted to kind of go over what the expectations of the project are, what it's really asking you to do. Um, and in addition to that, I'm also on this video and on this link, I'm going to post a video on natural selection, because while I think that your lesson does go over it fairly well, I think that it's a little wordy, and we can really simplify it to kind of get you to think about what this project is asking. Um, with that, you learned obviously that natural selection here is a mechanism by which evolution works. Okay, those organisms essentially that are best, they're suited to their environment, are what we consider naturally selected by the environment to go on to survive and to reproduce more of those organisms, whereas those organisms that essentially don't have said selective adaptations may not necessarily be as well adapted. So the goal of the project really is for you to simulate natural selection in the environment, and then be able to communicate your results. So, what you're really going to need for this is you're going to need some type of paper. It doesn't matter if it's construction paper. It's better if it's construction paper because you're going to have different colors. But if it's not, and it's white paper, just mark the white paper with different colors. Or if it's beads, you can use different color beads. You can use different color coins. You can really use anything to substitute the construction paper. It doesn't really matter. Just make sure that you have enough of that material. Okay. The scissors were really for the construction paper. So if you're using paper, then obviously the scissors are going to be appropriate. If you're not, then it doesn't much matter. It says a blanket with a colorful pattern. It doesn't matter if the blanket's a solid color. It doesn't matter if it's a tablecloth. It doesn't even matter if it's just the carpeting in your house. You really don't need anything just except an area where you're going to be able to do your work. Okay, you will need some type of cup, a plastic cup, a glass cup, a plastic container. It doesn't matter what it is, and then obviously a piece of plain paper and a pencil. Okay, so what the project is asking you to do, okay? If you're going to use construction paper or paper, you want to cut that paper into 30 squares, okay? And each square should be about the same size, okay? So you want essentially four different colored squares, okay? Or four different color objects, if you will, and you want 30 of those in total, okay? So from there, you're going to draw the table that you see here on the screen, or something similar to that. You can even cut and paste it if you want. All right. And then what you're going to do is, if the color of your squares is different, obviously you can substitute those colors. Like it could be turquoise, it could be brown, it can be whatever. Okay. Spread the blanket out over a surface, or if you're not using a blanket and you're using a tablecloth and you're doing it on the table, that's fine. Or if you're just using the floor as the media, that's fine as well. Just make sure you have space. Okay, you want to count out 10 squares of each color, or 10 objects that are the same color for each, and place them in a plastic cup. You're going to keep the remaining stuff off to the side. This is essentially going to be your reserve, okay? Once you've gotten 10 of each of those colors into the plastic cup, shake the cup up to mix it up, and then spill those squares out over the blanket, over the carpet, over the rug, over that area that you're working in, okay? Randomly, all right? And then you want to turn around for 10 to 15 seconds, and then turn back around and pick up the first 10 squares that you see, that your eye is drawn to. Okay, don't wait too long, just boom, turn around and pick up 10, the first 10 that you see. You're going to record the number of squares for each color that you've picked up in the table. Okay, those squares that you picked up, don't return them to the blanket or to the area that you're working. You're going to take those out. All right. Leave the remaining squares on the blanket of where they are. Okay? Now, here's where it gets a little tricky. For every 2 squares of the same color that were remaining on the blanket, okay? So you got to look at the area that you're working. For every 2 squares of the same color that are left, okay, you're going to add another of that same color to the reserve pile. So for example, if there were 4 red squares remaining on the floor after you picked up and counted, okay, you're going to add 2 more squares, okay? If there were 6 blue squares remaining, you would add 3 more blue, okay? If there were if there were 8 greens, then for every 2 you would add 1, you would add 4 more greens, okay? So hopefully you get the point with that. Now, what you're going to then do is place your hand over the cup. So basically you're repeating the process, okay? You're going to add those squares to the cup. You're going to shake them up. You're going to dump the cup on the work area. You're going to spread the squares out over that area. You're going to turn around again, and you're going to pick up the next 10 that you see, and you're going to record that number in the table, okay? After you're done with that, you're going to do exactly what you did, counting what's left, replacing those squares 2 more times. So you're going to have trials 3 and trials 4 where you're going to be doing this again. Okay? At the end of trial 4, you're going to count how many squares of each color are left in your working area. Okay? That is the number that is going to be recorded in the total column at the bottom of the page, okay, or at the bottom of the table here that you see on the upper part of this page. All right? From there, you'll get a bunch of results, and what you're going to do is you're going to use that table to help you answer the questions below here. So you're going to tell me how many of each color were left after trial 4. You're then going to tell me if each square represented an individual population of beetles. What did those objects or those construction paper colors represent? All right? Tell me, did you end up with an equal amount of squares for each color? And if you did, that's great. And if you didn't, tell me why not. Okay? Or tell me why you believe that some colors had more than others. Okay? What did picking up the squares represent? Think about it. Think about it in terms of natural selection. Okay? Think about what adding squares would represent if we're talking about natural selection, and then tell me how this activity simulated natural selection. Now, I'm going to post another video within this video, so you'll be able to see this. You'll be able to see a short 1 or 2 minute video beneath this when I post this to the Moodle page tomorrow. Watch the video and think about that in the context of this project as well. If you're still having trouble or you're still having problems afterward, certainly come see me in the VO. And we'll talk about it, okay? Next week we're going to get back. We're going to kind of move forward again. We're going to talk a little bit about the morphology project, and then we're going to be wrapping up and finishing this unit and then moving on to some projects in the next unit. So with that, have a great week, everyone, and we'll be back here next week.